Hey, it's Chaya, and I'm here with another episode of Naked, the untold naked story of the aftermath of living with the big four A's: alcoholism, abuse, anxiety, and ADHD. So, as a child, I grew up with those four big A's, and going into adulthood was a bad, horrible transition for me, especially since my parents moved halfway across the earth right around then, and leaving me to fend for myself. So this segment is about the early onset signs of a narcissistic relationship. The first relationship I got into after my parents left was with a really horrible narcissistic psychopath. Talking about it, I know will be hard for me, and I'm sure for some of you, for many reasons. But I'm gonna power through this, and I hope you can too, because these are signs that are easily missed, and they can so easily just take away a world full of pain. If I knew this before I went in, and I don't say this with guilt, I say this with just, if I knew it, I wouldn't have gone into it. I wouldn't have had 9 months in hell. Almost died. The girl after me didn't make it, and that's another story for another time, but she didn't make it. So I'm here to say her story for her through my story, because I'm sure hers was very similar. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need to go down that road. You don't need to go to hell and hold on so tight. You can recognize these signs early on. You can choose another path. You can choose to get out before you're fully groomed, before you're fully in. And even when you're fully in, I'll talk about that later. There are ways to get out. But for today, I want to talk about the early signs, the signs that I miss. All right. I narrowed them down to 7, but really there's way more. And I'll mention the 7. I'll say the 7 and mention some extras. It's not limited to these, but obviously if you see any of these signs, if any red flags come up now, I beg you, please look into them. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. I don't care if it's hell right now. I don't care what it is. It can get so much worse. And it can also get so much better. You don't need a guy that's there, or a girl that's there just for their own good, just to take everything out of you. You don't need them to suck the living life out of you, to tell you that you're good enough, that you're worthy. And in fact, they won't tell you that. They may in the beginning, but then they will tell you the exact opposite at every waking moment, every chance they have. So let me dive right into the signs that I totally missed. The first one is, he had all the time in the world for me. Does your partner do they have all the time in the world for you? He had all the time in the world for me. He made me feel special. He would come by, and no one was home. My dad only came to visit like a week and a half later, a couple of days later, I don't remember how much it was. And during that time I was completely alone. No one even cared or knew that I was there, and no one was making sure I had food or anything, and I came back from, I didn't know what it's like to take care of myself yet, So it was like a crashing moment, whoa. And then this guy was interested in me and wanted to spend every minute with me, and it made me feel really good and also safer than just being alone in a big house. Little did I know I was with the devil. But it was, he had all the time in the world for me. That's a very unhealthy sign. I know that now. A healthy guy will not have all the time in the world for you. He will wish he did, but he won't. He'll have other obligations. And that brings me right into point number 2. Number 2 is, he will want you to have all the time in the world for him. He will be jealous when you spend time with other people and give you these little feelings that will make you feel, these little remarks that will make you feel like you're not, like you shouldn't spend time with other people. In the grooming process, that is really important. Isolating you from other people so that you don't tell them what's really going on, so that you don't have the strength to get out, that you're fighting alone. So is your partner doing that? Is your partner isolating you or making you feel guilty for wanting to spend time with other people? Because a healthy guy, a healthy girl will want you to have friends. They may still want to spend the time you spend with your friends with you. They may still want that time, but they'll want you to have friends. They'll find it healthy and they'll be happy about that. And the next point that's a big factor, number 3, if he's telling you or she's telling you stories, tons and tons of stories of ways that they acted that weren't good, that is a huge red flag. Let me explain this through my story because I anyway flew there. So during the beginning of our relationship, while he was grooming me, he was telling me these horrific stories. And he would start with what he did. I would be shocked. Like, I yelled at, like stuff that he did. And then he would say, but wait, let me tell you what happened. Why? He was so bad. And he would turn around and make the story so bad that the other guy was like horrendous. And it almost made sense. I do remember exactly where I was in the car while we were driving, and I was looking out at like one of my neighbor's houses, and I was thinking to myself, like, that he's crazy. Like, this is crazy. Like, you don't do that. I don't care what people do, you don't do that. But instead of stopping, I let him explain himself. If your partner is telling you behaviors you don't think are acceptable, it's just a matter of time before they use it on you. If you don't think it's acceptable, there's no story in which it's acceptable. You see, you wouldn't find a way to slap someone. You wouldn't find a way to punch someone. You wouldn't, right? Now, if your partner is finding ways to do that, that says something. A healthy guy won't. A healthy guy might have one story of a time where he had to, or he felt like he had to. An unhealthy guy will have multiple stories where he felt like I had to. And the same goes with girls in different manners, in different ways. If they're telling you stories, if they're telling you stories that are ludicrous, wake up, smell it. They're the person. They're the person they say they are. They're telling you exactly who they are, and if you're saying it's okay with you, they will continue acting that way with you. And this brings me right into number 4. Are they acting like a victim all the time? The few times that they finally, take the mic, they start talking to you and telling you what they feel and how they feel about their life. Are they talking through victim mode? Because if they are, they sure as hell are going to act that way all the time. I remember he kept being a victim. I felt so bad for him. He was always a victim. Now I look at him with pity, like the poor guy, and a lot of disgust, anger, sadness, grief. And those are really feelings towards me. I don't really think about him because it hurts. I knew this was going to be hard. All right, I'm going to continue. If he has no friends, if there are no parts, there are no friends, that's a very big sign that people don't want to be around him. Or if he has one or two sketchy friends, really sketchy friends, people you wouldn't be comfortable being around, that's also a sign. Something's wrong. Pick up that sign. Pick it up. A healthy guy will usually have at least one or two healthy, good friends. And you won't be embarrassed to be caught around them because they're usually healthy people. Because he's a healthy guy. He's attracting that. Or an unhealthy guy, not necessarily a narcissist, will also have a bunch of friends. Like, you are who your friends are, right? So if he has very sketchy friends, he's a sketchy person. I don't care how cute he is. That's just the outside look. Tell him to come here and get naked and then we'll talk. Then we'll see who he really is. Someone can be really cute and extremely ugly at the same time. Does that make sense? All right. And the last two, the final two, are small manipulations and pushing boundaries. So if the guy or girl you're with is pushing boundaries and starting to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, or making these small little manipulations where they make you feel a feeling and therefore you do something you weren't going to do, which they kind of go hand in hand. That's number 6 and 7. They both leave you with this very uncomfortable feeling. That's a very big sign that they're a narcissist. If all of these signs feel to you like one person you know, they are a narcissist. And if they're doing this to you, they're grooming you. They're getting you ready to become they want to latch onto you, and they want to take out all that they could from you before you leave. And actually their hope is, and their goal is that you don't leave, that you stay forever. These signs, it's important that they are recognized because they're usually very present. Narcissists can't help it. This is who they are. I mean, they can't help it if they go for recovery and help. But when they're coming into the relationship and they're not willing to do any help and they're not willing to, they can't help it. They're going to show you their true colors really fast. However, they're going to be very careful with it, because if they showed you who they really were, you would run, right? So they start with what's called the grooming process, which you heard me say a couple of times, because what the grooming process is basically getting you ready to be their slave, their lapdog, whatever you want to call it, their prisoner. You don't have to be. You don't have to get stuck there. If at this point you feel like this is true to you in any way, it's time that you take a good look inside yourself and take a step back. The healthy guy will have no problem with you taking a step back if it's properly communicated. In fact, he will be really understanding and kind and sorry that you feel unsafe. An unhealthy guy will do everything in his power. How can I make you feel safe? I need to, but not in a healthy way, not in a way that feels good, in a way of like desperation of, I need you to stay. That's what a narcissist will do. He will step up and make sure that you stay. If someone is forcing you to stay, something is wrong. You don't want a relationship like that, do you? You want passion, you want love, you want joy. So, those are the seven onset signs, the list that I came up with of the stuff I wish I would have realized right away were just big red flags. And I'm hoping that by bringing it up to you, it brings up, hopefully it doesn't bring up any red flags, but if there are any red flags to be brought up, it brings them up. And I hope that they cannot be ignored and they actually get taken care of. And come back to see what happens next and how you get out if you're further in. And what I did, what I didn't do. And hopefully I'll have the courage to even share with you my diary entry from the worst of the days in there. how painful it was. Now, I'm going to wrap it up. It got really late. I mean, more than my usual time. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me. I want to wish you all an amazing day. Like and subscribe. Let me know you like it, and come back for next episode to see how things go from bad to worse and what that looks like. See you soon.